Hey, what's up, team? It's Sherman here from Geek Psychology. This video is on the fusion of cognitive functions, Enneagram Type 9, and RPG. So I'm going to be explaining a little bit more about the system that I'm trying to use here to make a playable game, and I'll talk about the world, the Kingdom of Nine, some of the locations in there. And then in another video, I will talk about the monster abilities and types that the Type 9 vice and passion brings about. All right. So, forgive the cold and the voice and stuff. Just surrounded by kids all day teaching, and I get sick. So anyway, talking about the world itself, there are 9 different kingdoms, and you are a selected member of a crew. Each of the cognitive functions is going to represent one of those characters, and you are a small resistance against a big, massive threat. The Shadow Lords are coming out, and they're ready to take over the world. So the task ahead of you is not easy. You're going to be called in on all these different missions, and things are going to be difficult. You're going to be fighting a lot of different variations of monsters, different types of monsters that are focused on the Enneagram passions, vices, fixations, all that stuff, the nasty stuff. So your character itself is going to be a cognitive function, a personified cognitive function, which I've talked about a lot throughout these videos and this channel. So I'm not going to do that right now. I will be later explaining the different classes with the actual playable RPG abilities that I've added in there. Each of the 9 kingdoms has their own certain feel to them, certain theme to them, different world views, and that's what the Enneagram is. It's essentially a world view. It's how you perceive what is going on around you, and so the kingdoms hopefully will represent that to the degree that I can do it within a playable game. So you'll see the different motivations, feelings, thoughts, and some of the physical reactions through the locations and the theme of the kingdoms. And although this is a different personality typing system than the cognitive functions, it's not MBTI, it's Enneagram, I do feel that they work together really well. And so if you imagine your characters being from one of these 9 kingdoms, they'll naturally fit in with the general style of the kingdom and the culture as well, and that will shape their world view, shape how they approach different things, and also it brings about the assumption that other people see things the same way. Like if you are from the United States, you get comfortable with that viewpoint that comes with being from the United States, and when you go to another country, you're like, this feels kind of weird. These people are doing things a little bit differently than I do. And that could have a stronger sensation to it. You could really hate what they're doing, or you could be like, wow, this is amazing, this is intriguing. But it's still the world view that you have from the culture that you've been brought up in. The Enneagram type is going to shape how you play your character, essentially. And people don't speak the same language. They don't approach love and violence and productivity and all this other stuff in the same way. They do it in a different way. Let me talk about the Kingdom 9. I'll try to keep it brief, but essentially their motto is, let's make peace. Let's keep things peaceful and calm. If you know a Type 9 besides me, which you know me now, I guess, then this should ring a lot of bells. The general traits are agreeable, good listeners, they're gentle, humble, receptive, accepting, pleasant, when they're in a good state. They can be other ways too. And the physical description of the land and the kingdom and the different places within there are towns and buildings built around geothermal lakes that are heated by volcanoes and things like that, a bunch of onsen type stuff. And the buildings are typically very well designed, very intricately designed wooden structures with tile roofs. and raised off the ground a little bit. So this is just, these are my ideas, but this is kind of how I see the type 9, I guess from my own perspective. And also influenced with night elves like Ashenvale, and also a little bit of Avatar and being in Japan, things like that. So the belief system of the type 9, I feel, is this struggle back and forth between two different gods that they believe in. One is the volcano god of anger and force, and the other one is the god of peace and nature. And so they're trying to appease the volcano god while also embracing both sides, the peaceful side of nature as well as the wrath that could come from exploding. And so they're always trying to balance between there. I have more stuff written down, but I'm not going to get too much into it right now. And there's one uncompleted task within the town that I just felt like making to give it a little bit more flavor, and that is to finish an altar which will allow them access to the dream world. And it hasn't quite finished. In a very Enneagram 9 typical way, they're just, they started it, they had some passion about it. That's good that they actually got to that point, but then it kind of just fell flat. And production has halted, and it could be due to distraction or lack of focus or procrastination, or the fact that manual labor is just not really a focus. It's a forgotten trade within the kingdom. So I feel that within that idea, there is something you can work with if you are game mastering this, you're GMing it, or whatever. If you're just exploring, writing fantasy, using these different kingdoms and things like that. And so there's also a contradictory goal, and that is more representative of the virtue of Enneagram Type 9. And basically there's this small clan that's gaining power. And what they're trying to do, I guess you could consider it kind of like a cult, but they're trying to help people think about things in a different way and access the volcano god and access that power, that force, even that anger, in order to create change, in order to shape the world and existence. And also, I don't know if it's pushing back nature and the calm side, but I think it's more of like a balancing of both. But instead of fearing the volcano god and fearing the destruction that could happen, it's more of like let's embrace it, maybe even sacrifices and things like that. I don't know. And so there's another ritual and habit also, is that the type 9s in this kingdom, they stop to realign themselves with the nature god more often and make sure that they're not pissing off the volcano god and suppressing their own passions in the process. So that's kind of a summary of type 9 as it is, and within the kingdom explanation. So I'm going to talk about a couple different locations right now, just ideas, things that I thought of that seem to fit pretty well. There are 10, and I'll just be talking about them a little bit, and if it's relevant, I'll bring out some Enneagram information as well. So the first one, there's a peaceful harbor with a couple of longboats meant for sailing, nice blue, pristine, nice and calm, peaceful ocean. Very type 9. I don't know what's under that ocean, maybe. But anyway, the ocean's there, and there are boats meant for sailing. So going with the wind, not really complicating things, not creating waves. So another location is the crumbling ruins of Antor, a stone fortress in a misty valley. I felt that this kind of has that, it has a 9 feel to it. Just this once was good, strong, this big fortress that's broken down and it's kind of forgotten a bit. There's also a large set of stones in another location with glowing blue runes etched in them and bathed in moonlight and set high overlooking the ocean. There's another location with 3 large torii gates. They're like in front of temples and things in Japan. And those are hugging a stone road that's going up some stone stairs into the emerald forest up on top of a hill. Some more. There's another location that you could be brought into, and it's being among giant treants that are moaning and creaking as they're waking up from their slumber for whatever reason. There's another one. This, I think a lot of people could probably imagine this one too, is that there's just this giant tree or several giant trees with buildings and shops and houses built around the trunk of the tree, going up, spiraling around with bridges and things like that. Kind of a classic example. Also, an old, strangely alluring cabin set in a little clearing in the woods with a simple dirt path going up to it. And I don't know, something about the cabin. When I do a lot of metaphor imagining, I see that often. So I don't know if it's a type 9 thing, INFP thing, or what it is, but felt like it belonged. 3 more. A perfectly still lake reflects the sky and trees above. Serene, calm, peaceful. Type 9. Under a massive tree of life that stands alone. So if you imagine just this big giant tree and you are underneath it, fighting for whatever reason or conversing or whatever you do. And last one, there's a large clearing where these mechanic harvesters have chopped down a lot of the trees, and that's something that you can explore. So those are the locations and a little bit about the Kingdom of 9. And I feel that, within the system that I'm making, you're going to be able to randomly be brought into these locations, and there will be an event already there. But you can also explore freely if that's how you want to play the game. Like, as an INFP, I don't really want to tell people what to do and how to approach different things, but the system is there so that you will be put into one of these locations, unless you make your own, randomly mixed with a random event, and it will paint that picture. So hopefully this is, a little bit helpful in a different way of approaching looking at the Enneagram and personality type as a landscape that you are living in, and a culture as well that's shaping how you view the world. If you are a type 9 or if you have any opinions about it, please let me know. Any location ideas that came up as well, any belief systems or whatever, just let me know, start a conversation. It could help somebody else below as well. And thank you very much. Keep up the lifelong questing. Peace.